Big bless and welcome back to the Planting Seeds podcast. Man, I did not anticipate how much I would actually be enjoying this newsletter series. It's been so cool and I've really enjoyed every single part of it, from the creative flow that comes through writing, the depth that I'm able to go into these topics and experiences that matter most to me and have shaped my life. And then the consistent nature of it as well. There's just something about this approach that has been very giving for myself as a creative output. But I can't quite put my finger on it or have the right words at the moment, but it's just been very enjoyable. And what solidifies it and what gives me that confirmation is also the support and the feedback that I receive from those who watch it, from those who listen to it, and from those who read it. And for me, that just gives me the sign that this path that I'm walking on is the path for me at this point in time, which is quite cool. And I'm going to be reading newsletter number 4 for the year, and it's titled Try Something New. And before I even get into reading, what I've said at this first part of this episode is actually related to the title and to this newsletter, because doing this newsletter series was something new. And yeah, it's just quite fitting actually how I started it off in that way. But let me get into this. If there's one thing that I can encourage you to do this year, it will be to try something new. The things that you've been very interested in but haven't done yet. The place you've wanted to visit. The food you've been curious about. The language you want to learn. The new job you've been contemplating. The new skill you've wanted to develop. Or whatever it may be for you. Give it a go. I recently started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu out of East Coast BJJ in Whakatane under Brad Kora. This is something that I've been keen on doing for some time, but since becoming a father, the desire for it became increasingly stronger. Reason being is because I wanted to have confidence in protecting my whānau in case of a situation that may never happen, but the idea of it is what finally got me to walk through the doors. Going into a new environment welcomes nerves and also excitement. And when these two emotions are experienced simultaneously, it's a sign that you're going in the right direction. Growth exists outside of our comfort zone. It is both nerve-wracking and exciting. It leaves you without regret. It creates new experiences. If all else fails, you can go back to how things were, but if it goes well, you'll be better for it. For the last 2 months, I've been getting beat up left, right and centre, and when I say beat up, it is in a safe environment and said in a humorous way. But on the other hand, I am gaining so many lessons through the art of humility. Losing time and time again is challenging and can either have you walking out the door or keep you coming back for more. There's a hunger to get better, to keep developing the fundamentals and skills, and as everyone keeps echoing, all it takes is time and continuing to show up. There's something about being bad at something and working towards being better. It builds humility. It increases confidence. It feeds your hunger for progress. If you're stuck, you're not growing. Your ego may get hurt, but your heart will get stronger. What I know for sure is that training out of East Coast BJJ has made me a better person. I can sense a shift in character and a deeper connection to myself and all around me. It may sound buzzy, but what I'm learning on the mat is so relatable to every other aspect of my life. There's 1,000 ways to attack your opponent, and your opponent has 1,000 ways to defend. What Jiu-Jitsu has taught me is that there is more than one way to do things. Through humility, developing new skills, and showing up despite setbacks, progress is certain. So try something new, my friends. You just don't know what is behind that door. For me, this recent journey has been life-changing. Send me a DM on Instagram at Rands to share some feedback or what you're going to try. Big bless, Rands. And so that's the newsletter for the week around trying something new. And we must be open to trying something new, to really scratch that itch, to live life without regrets, to leave no stone unturned. Particularly if there's something that is pressing around, man, I really want to do that. There's always been something that I wanted to try. But what gets in the way is our limitations. What gets in the way is our own mind and our own insecurity and small-mindedness. It creates more of a separation rather than being at the edge and having the willingness just to jump or to walk through those doors. And for me, it still happens, but when you finally walk through the doors, you have this initial thought, and it's like, man, I should have done this ages ago. And when it comes to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I walked into this gym when they were training outside of a shed 10 years ago. And I only just started this recently for a few months now, and that's exactly what I think. Man, if only I stuck it out 10 years ago, where would I be right now? Because this journey has just changed my life. Like, really has changed my life. I just absolutely love it. What I'm learning, the confidence that comes with it, the skills that I'm developing, the drilling to overcome this aspect of our reaction based on what is happening. And so that's something that's just been a recent realization for me, that sometimes we could be under threat, or sometimes these unforeseen circumstances happen, and then our body reacts based on what is happening. But when I'm training in the gym, we are reconditioning ourselves to have a different response based on what is happening. And an example that I've just learnt is that when you get put into a choke, and this particular choke is called a guillotine, where you go in for a tackle and then they just get a choke and their arm around your throat and then they pull, the initial reaction that we would do is to pull away, right? As we try and escape by stepping away and moving away from our opponent or from our partner. But in jiu-jitsu, it's actually moving into your partner. Because when you move away, you're creating more space in your neck for that grip to get even tighter, whereas when you come in more, you actually make it so much harder for your opponent to get the choke on. And so when you're drilling and you're training and you're actually getting the skill, you're teaching your body to react differently to the threat that is in front of you. And that happens in every other part of life. When you have a business tragedy, or when there's something happening within your whānau, or there's something happening in other personal areas of your life, instead of reacting, there's a way that we can condition ourselves to have a different response. And although there's so many ways to attack and to finish your opponent by either breaking their arm or choking them out or whatever it may be, your opponent knows ways to defend themselves. So it's not being stuck on, I have to do it this way, because if that way fails, you have to come back and think about another way to go about what it is that you are doing. Not only in jiu-jitsu, but even in life. Whereas if we're so fixated on just one thing, but your opponent is thinking about many other different things, you're at a disadvantage. And so the humility comes from losing time and time again. The humility comes from us reaching this roadblock and it not budging. And so it's coming back into the space of being able to recognize that this isn't working. I need to try something new. I need to go and lose in this direction and hopefully develop new skills, even though I'm sore I have to keep turning up to training so that I can keep learning and keep progressing. And so this is what the environment of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has really fostered within me. And I can honestly see the parallel that it has to every other aspect of my life. And so me walking through those doors, my reasons was for me to be able to have the confidence to be able to protect my family in any circumstance that may never happen. But my reasons for staying are much stronger now. And there's so much more, because what it's doing for me mentally, what it's doing for me physically, what it's doing for me in business, what it's doing for me in other areas of my life, the humility that is extremely present within myself now is, it's noticeable. And so try something new, my friends. You just don't know what is on the other side. I've tried this newsletter series, it's working out great. I've tried Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's working out great. And so what is something that you're going to do this year or in the short term, which is something that you've wanted to do? And I hope that this podcast or this newsletter series gives you that nudge to just give it a try. On the other side of the door for me was Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but there's something on the other side of the door for you. It might be just going traveling, it might be picking up drawing, it might be doing a podcast, whatever it may be for you. Just build the courage to finally do it. Let me know what you're going to try in the comments, or give me a message on Instagram. Big shout out to Clothing, the official sponsors of the Planting Seeds podcast, and also got a new episode with the first guest of 2023 coming out, and it's with my brother Nick Smith for our segment Full Circle, and he's going to be the co-host of the Planting Seeds podcast as well, which is going to be some cool things that we're working on at the moment. But for now, hope you've enjoyed this, and I'll see you next week for another episode. Media ora.